Glad to have you here. We have a real honor this morning. Our speaker is, as I say, an honorary Texan, Aussie Nick Adams. And he's the founder and executive director of the Foundation for Liberty and American Greatness. And that's an organization dedicated to promoting American exceptionalism, which is nice to hear, and combating anti-Americanism worldwide. He's a best-selling author, columnist, and commentator. He's got two books. The American Boomerang was endorsed by the National Review, the Heritage Foundation, the Washington Examiner, and the Dartmouth Review. His newest book is Retaking America, Crushing Political Correctness. And he uses his personal experiences as an Australian turned American to explain what's going on in this country. And he's a columnist, and he's also in many newspapers all over the world. It's been published all over the world. So I think we should be an honor, and I'm very looking forward to having him. And he'll tell us more. We were supposed to have him, I think, in May, and he got on a plane in the airport, and they told him he was on a terrorist list. And he will tell you how our government did this and why. And so anyhow, we're happy to have him here. Let's do a big East Texas welcome to Nick Adams.
Thank you.
Is it working? Pardon? He said he'll just use that.
Good afternoon. Is this working?
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What an honour, pleasure, and privilege it is to be able to be here with you in Tyler, Texas, talking to the Tyler Tea Party in a room full of patriots. I want to express my profound gratitude to Ashton and all of his team for making sure that I could be here with you today. And what a pleasure it is to be in the land of the free and the home of the brave. In the world's exceptional nation, in civilization's indispensable country. And to top it all off, if all of that weren't enough, in the greatest state of them all, the great state of Texas. I have never been to a place where I have encountered more enthusiastic patriotism or genuine hospitality. But more than just loving the place, more than just loving the people, my message about American greatness has no greater or more fitting venue than Texas. Texas is the living and breathing embodiment of American exceptionalism. Free, confident, successful, patriotic, and family-oriented. There is no more model society anywhere here on God's green earth. I love the Texan swagger, moxie, and bravado. I love the merciless contempt for political correctness that Texans hold. And I love their steadfast refusal to embrace the new morally debased and feminized world that we find ourselves in. It is for all of those reasons, ladies and gentlemen, that I will never ever forget the 10th of July 2013, when my good friend Governor Rick Perry appointed me an honorary Texan. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is terrific news because, as all of you very well know, there are only two types of people in this world: Texans and those that wish they were. As you can very clearly tell, now that I've established my Texan credentials so thoroughly and indisputably, let me tell you a little bit about who I am. As you can very clearly tell from my accent, I come from South Texas. Very deep south, southern South Texas. I was born in Sydney in September of 19 84. I want to tell you a story, and as I tell you this story, I'd like you to close your eyes for a minute and imagine it. It's December 1985 in Sydney, Australia. Two parents are at their wits' end. Something is not right with their 16-month-old child. For months, they visited doctor after doctor, but nobody can tell them what is wrong. The night before Christmas Eve, with their child even more unsettled than usual, they head to the emergency department of the local children's hospital. The ward is nearly deserted, but there is one overnight doctor, a young man with a smiling face and an accent. As he looks the child over, he says, his smile evaporates, and he says, "I think your child has neuroblastoma, and you need to get him in for tests first thing tomorrow morning." The very next day, the parents' worst fears would be confirmed. Their child had stage 4 neuroblastoma, a rare form of childhood cancer. The parents were mine. The child was me. The doctor, it turned out, was an American. The cause of neuroblastoma to this day remains unknown, with only 1 in 100,000 children being diagnosed each year. Notoriously difficult to diagnose, when it is, the tumour has almost always spread. An infant with stage 4 neuroblastoma has just a 5% chance of life. Only 1 in 20 survive. For 3 years, I underwent chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and an operation. Through the healing hands of God, the master physician, I was able to survive. The instincts of the American doctor, fresh out of college, just in Australia for a summer internship, just in the nick of time, proved crucial. Ladies and gentlemen, I haven't only studied American exceptionalism, I've lived it. In fact, I'm alive because of it. Since that early adversity, I have been unstoppable. I was the valedictorian at school. I was publicly elected to political office at the age of 19. I became the youngest deputy mayor in Australian history, a record that still stands to this day, just 8 days after my 21st birthday. I was a best-selling author before I turned the age of 30. Now, having just turned 32, and when I say just, I mean just, my birthday was on Labor Day, on Monday. Having just turned 32, I have spoken at more than half of the states, in more than half of the states in the United States of America, and I know there aren't 57. I've appeared on almost every single radio and television program in the country. I'm a regular on Fox News. I'm recognised worldwide as an expert, as an authority on American exceptionalism. In fact, I have decided to dedicate my life to protecting, strengthening, and defending the United States of America. And thank you. And because I am in such an exuberant mood and all of that stuff wasn't good enough, let me give you the even better news. The even better news is, ladies and gentlemen, that on the 29th of July 2016, after 4.5 long, arduous, terrible years, and almost $50,000 later, I finally legally immigrated to the United States. You don't have to ask me where I chose to live. I'm living in the best state of them all. That, ladies and gentlemen, gives me a very unique trifecta. I am Australian by birth, Texan by appointment, and American by choice. So what do I believe in? I believe in patriotism, self-reliance, individualism, free markets, limited government, the right to bear arms, the state of Israel, a strong national defence, and I believe that welfare should ideally be a community and church responsibility. But more than any of those things, ladies and gentlemen, more than any of those things, I believe in America. I want you to know something. This country may be weakened, wounded, and withering, led by a thoroughly vacuous, anti-American, leftist president. But it is still the greatest nation in the history of the world. It is still the best country to be born in, to live in, to work in, and to conduct business in. America is special because America is not just a stretch of land, not merely a geographic region. It is an idea, it is an ideal, it is the improbable and daring experiment that remains just as improbable and daring today. It's the shot that was heard around the world and still is. Everywhere I go, when I speak to students at high schools, in elementary schools, in middle schools, in all of those places, I say to them, the day that you were born an American is the day that you won the lottery of life. This country is indispensable to humanity as we know it. This country is the country that the rest of the world looks to, because it is a value system. America has been an unparalleled force for good in this world. And it's something that we've got to be proud about, it's something that we've got to proclaim, and it's something that we need to insist becomes a part of the culture again. Because right now, political correctness is destroying the United States of America. You see, most people think that political correctness is merely an imposition on speech. But it's much, much more than that. It's a way of life. It's a cultural attitude. It's a cultural mindset. It's a mindset that insists that you aspire to mediocrity and not greatness. It's a mindset that says that you should kiss butt, not kick it. It's a mindset that wants to force people to colour between the lines, that wants to remove individualism, that wants to remove self-confidence, eliminate our patriotism. And that is precisely what political correctness is doing. And that's why I believe there is no greater moral imperative than eradicating this totalitarian ideology, this thought control, this intellectual tyranny that we know as political correctness. Amen. We need to do it, we need to do it fast, and we need to do it as hard and as mercilessly as we possibly can. Amen. Because right now, political correctness is delivering us at the knees of people and cultures that are far less worthy than us, far less prepared to lead the world. And if we don't step up and do something about it, we're going to lose America. And ladies and gentlemen, if you lose America, you lose the world. What is good for America is good for the world. When America is strong, the world is strong. When America is weak, the world is weak. That's right. And that is why it is in the interest of every single person, no matter who they are, no matter where they live, no matter where they were born, what they do, to stand up and to fight for America. This is the best country in the world for anyone and everyone to live in. This is the best country in the world for a black person to live. Yes. That is why, you'll never hear this statistic in the media, but that is why more black Africans have immigrated voluntarily to the United States than came as slaves. This is the truth that political correctness does not permit us to express. This is the truth that political correctness seeks to suppress. This is the truth that unfortunately is no longer being told in newsrooms, on radio stations, and in our classrooms, all the way from elementary school all the way up to colleges. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited to tell you about a brand new venture of mine that I hope you can all get behind and support, because today's the 9th of September 2016, and I want to make a commitment to you that within the next 5 years, my organisation will be a household name. My organisation is FLAG, the Foundation for Liberty and American Greatness. And it is the only, let me say that again because it's a great name, FLAG, the Foundation for Liberty and American Greatness. And it is the only organisation in the world that is fighting anti-Americanism, that is combating anti-American bigotry. It is the only organisation in the world that is using the tactics of the left back against them. FLAG has got one of the most stunning advisory councils you could possibly imagine. Colonel Alan West is on my advisory council. Dr. Ed Fulner, the guy that founded the Heritage Foundation, is on my advisory council. Pete Hegseth from Fox News is on my advisory council. I have assembled the most pro-American, brilliant, strategic minds with an effective record of fighting anti-Americanism and spreading American exceptionalism. And I promise you this, FLAG is going to preside and make America preside over a conservative, patriotic renaissance. How are we going to do it? FLAG has got two major arms. The first is our schools. FLAG is going into as many elementary, middle and high schools as possible, talking to children about what makes America special, what makes America different. What would the world look like if there was no America? What would the world look like today if America hadn't have been in the leadership position that it had been in the 20th century? Why is the Constitution the best political document ever written? We want to answer these questions because we are terrified that the young generation that are coming up, that are going to be bequeathed the most important responsibility of mankind to uphold the humanity's best ideal ever, America, don't know how to manufacture that value system anymore, and don't have the self-confidence to not only manufacture it, but export it all over the world. That's what we need to rectify. That's why we're going into schools and we're telling kids, America is a fantastic country. It has given so much to the world. You should be unapologetic about being an American. You should be proud to be an American. You should never let anybody diminish your country, your culture, or who you are. FLAG envisions one day to be able to give every single child starting the school year in America a FLAG patriotic gift bag. In that gift bag, there will be a copy of the Declaration of Independence, a copy of the United States Constitution, a flag, and a Bible. Because we want to revitalise the spirit and the patriotism of the young boys and girls that are the future leaders of tomorrow. You see, the left have always understood better than us that in order to be able to control tomorrow, you need to control the children of today. And they have so successfully infiltrated all of our schools, all of our colleges, and they are deliberately undermining America. They're deliberately diminishing America's success, America's role in the world, and they are actively trying to create American haters as part of the civilization. We cannot abide that. Flag's going to fix that. The other thing that Flag is going to do is we are going to be a pro-American voice in the culture. So what do I mean by that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now, our gallant men and women of the United States military have got our back. At sea, on the land, in the air, even in space, at home and abroad. But who has America's back in the culture? Who has America's back on the TV? Who has America's back on radio? Flag now does. We are going to be a pro-American bully. To bully the real bullies. Because that's exactly what we have to do. We're going to have a cable news strike force team where we put spokespeople on every single possible channel we can. CNN, Fox, CNBC, CBC, CBS, all of them. And we're going to make sure that our viewpoint is always promoted. Because right now, ladies and gentlemen, America is a punching bag. If you said 1/16 of the things that are said about America and Americans, about any other country, culture, or people, you would be called racist. You would be hauled over the hot coals of every anti-discrimination and human rights commission you can imagine. But if you say something bad about America, or you want to do something unpatriotic and classless, like what's being planned on Sunday, I'll have more to say about that in a moment, you're a hero. The culture treats you like a hero. Anti-Americanism is considered something that's normal. That's got to change, ladies and gentlemen. Flag is committed to changing the media narrative and to changing the culture, because that is really what is so important. We're going to use the tactics of the left back against them. Let me give you a great example. Flag wants to host the world's first anti-American watch list. It's called Flag Watch. So one of the tactics that the left use to such incredible effect and impact is the tactic of shaming. It causes us to lose our jobs. It causes us to miss out on opportunities. Well, this is what we're going to do. If you come out and you say something stupid about America, America's a racist place, America's a bigoted place, America's an oppressive place, we get your name, we get your photograph, we get your current employer, we get the industry that you're in, what you said and why what you said was stupid, and we make sure through Google optimization results that the very first thing that anybody who looks you up sees is that you hate America. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I can't promise you that we're going to stamp out anti-Americanism entirely, but I can give you this commitment. We are going to make people think 1,776 times before they open their mouth to defame, libel, or deride the United States of America. We are going to push America's cause and America's patriotism, and we're going to do it robustly, we're going to do it aggressively, and we're not going to take a backward step. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. In July, America turned 240 years old. While it was a time for great celebration, I put it to you that it is also a time for very sober and somber reflection. Because if you go and ask any historian worth their salt how long great superpowers in world history last, they will tell you it is somewhere between 235 and 250 years. I regret to inform you, with regret rich in my voice, ladies and gentlemen, that puts America right in the kill zone. And that is why we cannot afford to let a second go to waste. If we are going to see America reach her tricentennial, her third centennial in 2076, in exactly 60 years' time, it is going to require us to muster every ounce of patriotism, every little bit of passion that we possibly can, from the soles of our feet to the tops of our heads, because we are in the fight of a lifetime. Some of you may have seen last week, I was on Fox News. I was interviewed about Colin Kaepernick's decision to sit down during the national anthem. That particular clip went viral. It has been viewed by more than 1.6 million people. We are already making a huge difference. Yesterday, with media stories circulating that the entire Seattle Seahawks, these millionaire prima donnas that have got no idea how good they have it, are planning on the 15th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, are planning as a whole team to sit out the national anthem, or a flag called for the immediate boycott by real America of the Seattle Seahawks franchise. We called on Americans to financially decimate that company, because we want to show them how truly patriotic this country is. And the other thing Flag did, the moment that those news stories came out, we released immediately a list of names of the fallen military heroes from Seattle since September 11, 2001. That's the kind of thing that we're doing. That's how we're fighting. We're putting the information out there. We're standing up for America. Ladies and gentlemen, all my life I've wanted to come to America. For as long as I can remember, I was captured by America's freedom, captivated by its opportunity. I was prisoner to the hope and optimism that it offered. America is the most individualistic, patriotic, optimistic country there is in the world. I was drawn here and I wanted to be a part of it. And for the country that I love, I decided that I wanted to legally immigrate, to be here, to have a green card, to be able to live here, work here, and start my own family. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I encountered some of the greatest difficulty I ever have since my early adversity as a little infant. I have received an extraordinary ability green card, which is the most coveted green card to get. You have to prove through extensive documentation that you have reached the very top percentage of your chosen field. My application was approved in December of 2014. I was granted an extraordinary ability approved green card petition. The very last step in anyone who's going to come and collect their green card, you have to collect your green card by physically entering the United States. So the very last step in that whole process, once you've been approved, is you have to go to the US consulate or the US embassy in your home city, in your country. I went, in my case, it was the US consulate of Sydney. And there it's meant to be a fairly routine procedural interview where you go in with your police check, the originals of your passport, your birth certificate, and you answer a few routine questions about your application. Well, on the 22nd of September 2015, almost exactly 1 year ago, I went in for my interview at the US consulate in Sydney, and I got one of the most despicable human beings I've ever come across. And he turned my life upside down with no explanation, with no reasons given. He held onto my passport and left me stranded for 7 to 8 weeks. Then, he never gave me his name. The letter that he sent had a signature, but he was too gutless to put his name on the letter. The letter was just a 2-paragraph letter that simply said that we've reviewed your application and your interview, and I've decided to send it back to the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service with a recommendation that the original approval be revoked. I, throughout the process, have been represented by some of the best immigration attorneys in America, in Manhattan. And these guys said to me, they said, "Nick, we don't know what to do." I said, "What do you mean you don't know what to do?" They said, "We've never seen this before. This is not meant to happen. We've been practicing immigration law for 40 years. This is what's known as a consular return. Technically it exists, but we've never ever come across it. And in your case, with the overwhelming evidence and the fact that the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service approved it immediately, this makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. This is a huge abuse of discretionary power on behalf of this Vice Consul." But to make matters worse, ladies and gentlemen, there is a thing in America called immigrant intent, which no one really knows about. Immigrant intent stipulates that if you have legally formally tried if you've demonstrated a desire to be a permanent resident of America, which clearly I had by lodging my application for a green card in the first place, if you've expressed that desire formally and the US government knocks you back, declines you, you are never ever again allowed to re-enter the United States in your lifetime, not even as a tourist. So I was all of a sudden, out of the blue, faced with the prospect of not being able to return to the country that I loved. And I'd done nothing wrong. I'd obeyed the law. I'd given $30,000 of my own money to lawyers and filing fees, and I was given no reasons, and nothing happened. And it was one of the worst periods of my life. Anyway, my new book was coming out in February of 2016. And the advice that I had from my attorneys was, look, you haven't been formally declined, but we don't think you should come to America. You should just stay there and wait for this to be resolved. We don't know what way it's going to go, but if you come to America and you turn back by the TSA, it'll be an automatic 5-year ban. Anyway, I sat down with my mum and dad, and we prayed about it. And my parents said to me, they said, "Nick, you've done absolutely nothing wrong. You've worked hard. You've got this book coming out. I'll just go there, take the proof of your return flight with you, have a copy of the new book that's coming out on you, show them that you're going to be coming home or coming back to Australia, show them your book, tell them you're there for a book tour, and there shouldn't be a problem." Well, I took the chance, and I came to America, and there was no problem. And then I used the opportunity not only to end up having a best-selling book, but also I took the opportunity to go and marshal as much political support as I possibly could. I got 6 US senators and about 18 congressmen. that made representations on my behalf to the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service. And the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service came back on the 2nd of March when I was at CPAC. I don't know how many of you know what CPAC is. Came back on the 2nd of March and slapped this guy down. And the instruction was, it's been reapproved, grant him the immigrant visa so he can go and collect his green card. So I still had to go and have an interview at the consulate in Sydney. Unfortunately, because that's an indispensable part of the process. Anyway, in between, I had some great opportunities coming up in June, and we thought it would be a good idea. My parents wanted to come over, and it was going to be my father's first time to the US, and obviously, as any set of parents want to, they wanted to make sure that they could identify a good area for their son to be able to live in and be safe in and do all of that. And so we had planned a trip in June, and I was going to fly back whenever they wanted me for the interview, to come back to Sydney to do that interview so that I could get the green card. Anyway, my mum and dad and I got to the airport at Sydney, flying here, and that was, of course, the trip where Ashton and I had organised for me to come and speak to you. I think it was on the 9th of June that was going to happen. And we got to the airport, and my mum and dad were okay, but the lady at the Qantas check-in counter said, "Nick, have you not got your ESTA, which is a visa waiver program that Australians travel to America on?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I've got it." I said, "I've got a copy of it right here." Anyway, she had a look at it, and she's manually typing it into the system, and couldn't work out anything. She said, "Look, I'm really sorry, guys." She said to my parents and I, we're there with all of our suitcases and our backpacks and hand luggage. She said, "I've got to go and see my supervisor. I've never come across this before." Anyway, we wait for 35 minutes, and she comes back with a supervisor. And they're all ashen-faced, and said, "Look, Mr. Adams, we're really sorry, but we just got off the phone with the Department of Homeland Security, and they informed us that you are not permitted to travel to the United States." And I said, "Why?" She said, "We don't know. They refuse to tell us. They never tell us these things. But they were adamant that you've been flagged and you're not allowed to travel to the US." You can imagine being on an airport with my parents. I mean, it was it's an experience I will never, ever forget. And the Qantas people felt so sorry for me. They said, "Do you know why this would be?" I said, "I've got no idea. I've got a pending approved green card petition." And they said, "Well, but have you ever been arrested?" They said to me, "Or have you travelled to the Middle East lately? Or, would there be?" And I said, "Oh, no, absolutely not. This would be my 18th trip to the US. I've been coming and going for the last 7 years, no problem." And they said, "Well, we're really sorry, but you can't fly today, but your parents can." My parents said, "No, we're not going to be flying without Nick." So anyway, a few weeks later, I got an email from the US consulate in Sydney, and they said, "You don't even need to come in for an interview. Just send us your documents, and we're going to grant you the immigrant visa, and you can go in." And that's when I came on the 29th of July 2016. But I managed to hunt down this individual at the consulate. This leftist cockroach. I went through the Australian government, our Foreign Affairs Department, the equivalent of your State Department, and I managed to get a list of all diplomatic officials in Australia from every country. And I went, of course, to the United States, and then I went to the actual consulate in Sydney, and there were about 6 or 7 vice consuls with their names there. I went through those names, and because this gentleman had interviewed me, I was able to go onto social media and match the names with the photographs. And I got him. I found him. And his social media shows that he is a leftist activist. He is a militant homosexual. He's a homosexual activist, full of rainbow stuff and everything that you can imagine. And it became very clear to me that the views that I had expressed on Fox News, on other networks, about the importance of traditional values, and my belief that all that feminism was delivering was angry women and feminine men, I think that these type of things upset him. So, the good news is though, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm exposing him and the State Department. I've got a brand new book coming out. It's called Green Card Warrior. My quest for legal immigration in an illegals system. And it documents all the evidence that I have. And we are going to be calling for the impeachment of this Vice Consul. Because Vice Consuls can be impeached by Congress. And we are going to do Flag is going to run an impeachment petition, because this cannot be the face of America. Stopping people like me who want to give, not receive, that want to make, not take, that love this country. For this despicable and evil human being to try and get me banned from ever coming to the US again, all because I'm a Christian and a patriot and I like women, well, that's outrageous. So we're going to go after him, and you get ready, because you're going to be hearing a lot about it. Let me promise you. I'm going to be going on every television show, every radio show, telling my story. Because we need to expose these leftist bureaucrats that are the face of America and that are embodying anti-Americanism. Because to stop someone like me coming to America, you're an anti-American. So I'm convinced, ladies and gentlemen, although I don't have proof of this, but I am convinced that they knew of my plans for Flag. Because we were going through the IRS. How we got this through the IRS? Someone blinked. Someone blinked. Because this is a non-profit organisation. It's a 501c3. And we got it through. But I'm convinced that they knew what my plans were once I'd come to America. And they knew the capability that I had to transform the culture. And to be a voice for you. To be a voice for everyday, ordinary, decent people that are the silent majority, that are going ahead with their lives, with their families, and just want to be left alone by the government so that they can do whatever they want to do. The beautiful thing about America is that anybody can rise above the circumstances of their birth to go on and achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. And we need to keep it that way. We can't let political correctness prevent people from being able to be who they want to be the best be that they can be. So we need to fight. We need to do it as much as we possibly can. In a couple of moments, I'm going to take some questions. But before I do, I want to tell you that I have my two previous best-selling books here today. One is The American Boomerang, How the World's Greatest Turnaround Nation Will Do It Again. And my second book is from earlier this year, Retaking America, Crushing Political Correctness. The foreword to The American Boomerang was written by Colonel Alan West, and the foreword to my Retaking America, Crushing Political Correctness book was written by Dennis Prager, who I omitted to tell you is on the Flag Advisory Council. He has been one of my mentors, and I am just so grateful and blessed to be learning from him. And we are committed to presenting the American Trinity. Those of you that listen to his show will know what that is, or the Prager University. You may have seen my video on Prager University, which you should also watch. We're committed to doing what we can. So I'm going to be at the back. I've got those books. I'm more than happy to autograph them for you. I'll also be, and I'd like to ask all of you very much to please give as generously as you can to FLAG. FLAG is a 501c3. All donations are 100% tax deductible. If you're going to make a check out to FLAG, if you're going to make a check for FLAG, please make it out to FLAG. If you're going to write a check for the books, make that out to Nick Adams. But please, anything you can give, whether it's $20, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, everything helps. We're in our infancy and we need as much financial support as we possibly can to be able to achieve the things that we want to do. With that being said, thank you for coming out, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.